sent and received at the same time. There's also another format called half duplex, which means that you have two streets, but only one of them is in use at any given point in time. Okay, so data can only be sent to, and then also sent from, but not at the same time. Okay, all right, move on to the next slide here. The speed that data travels is measured by bits per second, right? That's called its data transfer rate. So we signify this data transfer rate as in, we've got the number there, so 10, right? And then M, which in this case stands for mega, right? And then we have a lowercase b. This lowercase b is a little bit different from the type of data that we store. It represents bits, right? Not to be confused with a capital B, which would represent bytes. This whole construct down here, right, is called the bit rate. And we use that to measure how fast data transfers over a network. So before data is transferred, it actually goes through this really interesting process, right? We break large chunks of data into things called segments, okay? Addressing information is then wrapped around that segment, and we call it a packet. From there, we then add a little bit more information in order to make it something called a frame. And then each frame is broken into the bits that we see on the screen. This visual might be a little confusing, but just know that really data is ultimately going to be represented in bits before it's transmitted across a network. So this whole thing ends up taking this form right here. And then it's transferred over a physical medium in binary. All right, of course, when data is received by a device like your cell phone, it goes through the reverse process. So what happens is that the receiving computer is going to go ahead and take all those bits. It's going to read the frame, or rather, it's going to reassemble the Ethernet frame. It's going to strip that physical addressing information, and then it's going to strip the logical addressing information known as the IP address. So it's no longer a packet anymore. It's going to come back into its segment form, and then it's going to be reassembled into the file that we click on in Windows Explorer, which I think is a pretty cool process, and it actually really simplifies the way that data transfer occurs. All right, so how does data know where to go? Well, we mentioned IP addresses, right? Those are logical addresses that uniquely identify a device and its network. So an example here would